Here we go. 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 Boom, boom, boom.
I don't like drinking too much coffee every day, but I do some days. And today was one of those days.
Is one of those days that you like it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Where I'm just feeling great and not feeling burned out, like not having the adrenal burnout of too much coffee for too many days in a row. Normally, I try to have one cup of really strong, good, dark French roast every day, maybe two. But it's nice to get a couple cups of coffee in the morning before you run, and then go exercise, and then have another one afterward. You're ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
Rock and roll with it.
That's right. So I want to talk about Fred, dude. We haven't talked about Fred enough, and it's just the whole thing so interesting because I never really connected that much with Fred. I mean, you've been telling the story for years in your marketing, and it's cool, but like Fred didn't resonate with me super deeply. But then what happened is years later, I got so crazy about all this mascot marketing stuff and the fictional marketing stuff. And Fred was one of the earliest examples that I had direct contact with of that type of a character in marketing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Fred. I know we have something cool.
We got Kyle's attention. What's up, Kyle? Thanks for the love, brother.
Is that Kyle Battis?
Anthony, what's up? And got to watch the replay from yesterday. I know that, there's some definite nuggets in there, man. There was some good stuff there.
Hey, what's up, Rick? Good to see you, my friend. Nice. All sorts of list building people from the past are showing up today. Good.
Gene Roberts, what's up? What's up, Idity?
Right, that's right. So, should we talk about the flea, or should we turn on the video?
Well, being that I probably say it much more succinctly in a few minutes, why don't we play the video that I dug up that was the kind of does the job of explaining it in 6 minutes and 28 seconds.
Awesome. So, guys, Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea is a super cool character that Joshua created quite a few years ago. And Joshua just dug this video out of the archives and spent the entire day yesterday having to modify his computer drivers in order to make this video possible for you. So I hope you enjoy it.
And hopefully it'll work now.
Yeah. So for the record, it totally might not work because we've had some problems getting everything synced up, which seems silly, but sometimes with all the technology that there is these days, you can always make things complicated and get things to break. I've found that. What we're going to do is do we
want to give any teeing up to the way that I've used it? Since, I first developed it in 1998, but I don't know that it really matters.
Yeah, look, this character is going to teach you some cool stuff about yourself and about people in general, and we're going to talk about the character and how it's been used and Fred's story right after the video. So watch the 6 minute and 28 second video, and then don't go away. We're going to circle back and connect up with you in just a few minutes. Do we want to have commentary in the background, or do we just want to let it play?
I think just let it play because and then we can talk about it.
And then I'm going to turn my camera off, and then I'll leave my.
And then I go live.
Now. Yeah, you should go live.
Okay.
And I'll let you know that it's working.
It's funny. We have Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea to blame for being here today. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but Fred, and you can call him Sir Fred if you like, that's his formal name. He didn't always have a flat head. Let me tell you how he came to have this flat head. He was walking down the street, minding his own business, having a good old time. He had a good life, normal, everyday things, and all of a sudden, fate stepped out of nowhere and grabbed him, plucked him up off the street, and put him into this mason jar with a lid on it. And so Fred, like many of us, most of us, does not like being trapped, does not like being controlled. So feeling stuck what does he do? He tries to get out, right? So he can't push the jar over. He can't wrestle it down. So a flea can jump, though, and jump really high, really strong. And he was like the best jumper in his class, So he starts jumping. And what does he do? Well, he smacks into the lid. And it hurts, right? But he doesn't care because he's getting out of there. He's determined, and all the things that his coaches told him, and jumping classes, and everything that his dad taught him about. Winners never quit and quitters never win, and all of that conditioning, all of that programming took over. And so, what does he do? He jumps even harder, and he bangs his head into the lid of the jar. And of course, that's how he got his flat head. But that's not the whole story. Because what ended up happening is that he continued to, the fact that he flattened his head and hurt himself and he caused himself pain and he conditioned himself and he got that flat head, did that change the fact that he still wanted to get out of the jar? No, he still wanted freedom. That didn't change anything, but he still felt stuck. He still felt trapped in that jar because he was, right? And he had that limitation, the lid on the jar. So what does he do? Well, he teaches himself how to continue to try to get out of the jar, but not feel the pain anymore. So for him, that means he only jumps as high as the lid. He's capable, because he's the best jumper around, of jumping, much higher than where the lid is, but he's jumping, he trained himself, he conditioned himself to only jump just high enough to get to the lid so that he could still feel good about doing something, trying to have a modicum of control over his life, to try to still jumping for freedom because he still wants to get out. So he continues to try, he continues to work at it, works really hard at it, but he's only jumping as high as the lid. Fate steps in again, takes the lid of the jar off. And so Fred goes, oh, this is my chance, right? I'm going to jump right out of here because I'm perfectly capable, right? So he goes, I'm out of here. See you later. I'm out. Unfortunately, no. See, because again, he's conditioned himself because of that pain to believe that the lid's still there. So to him, jumping any higher than the lid is equals pain, because that's what gave him the flat head. So he will continue to jump and jump and jump and jump, being perfectly capable, having no limits on him anymore, being perfectly capable of escape, perfectly capable of getting out of that jar. He stays stuck, unfortunately, in that jar, but it's a limitation that of his own making. It's a jail, if you will, a prison of his own making, because of the fact that he conditioned himself to avoid that pain, and he doesn't challenge it. But now here's an interesting thing that's happened to him, is that the reason he's going to die in there, unless somebody comes along and tips the jar over, or fate steps in and takes him out of there again, or something happens outside of his control, he's going to die in there because believes now that his reality is he's trapped. He's accepted that reality. He's accepted that he's now trapped, and he's going to continue to jump because he can't sell out on himself, right? He can't feel like giving up, but he's only jumping as high as that lid once was, and he's burning himself out. He's never going to be able to get out of there unless he does something about that conditioning. Now you say, well, I'm not Fred. You're not Fred. Or are we? Because we all have these flat-headed flea stories, meaning that we conditioned ourselves to believe things that may or may not be true anymore. So based upon the reality of the great unwashed reality of the entire world, right? And that's unknowable to us as a whole, right? We select based on our experiences a small subset of that to, tap into. And then we give our attention to a little bitty piece of that we focus on, and that becomes what we condition ourselves to believe is our reality or is true. And what's strange is that Fred didn't know that he conditioned himself, didn't know that this limitation was there, didn't realize that he did it. But it still didn't change the fact that he's limiting himself. And so for him, that is his reality, right? That is what he believes is what's possible, what's impossible. The way it is, the way life is the way that he conditioned himself to believe it. So these Fred stories, as I call them, they get conditioned in us at very early ages, right? And we, just like Fred, we have no idea that they're even going on. They become unconscious. At one point, it was very conscious, but it got conditioned into us. And it happened, and so now we don't even see it anymore, even though it's there. So it becomes part of like a computer operating system, if you will, our base operating system, where it's who we are. It's part of our identity, right? So let me give you an example of one of my early Fred stories. And we're back. At least I am. I don't know about Tellman. Where are you, buddy? Where are you? Dooby dooby doo. Tellman's having technical difficulties on his end, so please stand by. So, what did? Hopefully, that came through fairly decently in the playing it locally on my computer and then streaming it during our live here. So, what ideas came to mind, particularly for me? What stands up? It was really good, Gene. Thank you. That's awesome. What comes to mind for me is the part about the it being an invisible operating system. Kind of like your like an operating system that runs computers. You don't know that it's running, but it's what makes all the other things work on top of it. It's what makes all the other software, all the other hardware. It depends on that operating system, and so that it's really an interesting phenomenon. And Max, yeah, thank you. It's a great story. Oh, so you subscribe to the emails and you've gotten some of the lessons that I've started to put together around them. I'm great, by the way, Max. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of it. So for me, the way that this shows up is, and I use it as a way to kind of trick myself, so to speak, into realizing that what I think is complete reality may in fact not be the truth for me. And so when I get an automatic reaction to something or emotional reaction to something, I use it as a way to say, wait a minute, is that a Fred story or did I consciously choose that reaction? And it has big, profound implications in terms of building your business. And I think what a lot of us are running into, particularly right now, because of everything that's transpired with the pandemic and whatnot, is that the way that we have it, that it has to look a certain way, and may or may not be actually true. And I think Tellman's on his way back. So what's up, Tellman? There he is. Great.
That was ridiculous. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. The way that we have it in terms of it having to look a certain way or it being possible or impossible may just be a made-up Fred story in our mind. And if we're open to that, then we can start to evaluate it and see new possibilities. It's not like it's voodoo or magic or anything. It's just something that we're unable to see because our filters, our Fred stories, are causing us to stop looking in the direction that there are new possibilities there.
On that note, Joshua, so often we can get, personally, I can get, and lots of people that I talk to, whether they're friends, whether they're potential clients, whether they're customers, people get caught up in this idea around limiting beliefs. And, do we have limiting beliefs? Do we have limiting beliefs that are the way we look at ourselves, the way we look at the world, that are limiting us and our ability to achieve what we want to achieve? And the answer is yes. And the reason that the answer is yes is because every belief is a limit. All beliefs are limiting.
So is every thought, by the way.
Exactly.
It has a beginning and an end.
They're all limited. And so that's what a belief is. So a belief isn't a fact, okay? A belief is a theory, usually a non-provable theory. It's a way of thinking about the world and operating within the world that allows you to make sense of it, right? For example, good and evil belief, right? Every different culture throughout time and history has had different beliefs and feelings about good and evil, and what, it's not a black or white thing as much as we'd
Right.
like to think it is, right? And so these beliefs that we have about ourselves, about other people, and about reality and what is or isn't possible, feasible, realistic is a word that people throw out a lot in order to limit themselves, I've found.
Yeah.
These are beliefs. I'm going to jump and my head's going to get hit on that freaking invisible air up there.
Because I did it before and it hurt and it flattened me and it knocked my on my butt and sent me for a loop.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, just talk about beliefs in general, whether they're limiting or empowering. It's still, like you said, they are limiting to a degree because they frame up what you believe to be true or what you're willing to evaluate and look for,
or even able to evaluate. Like, for a lot of we all have beliefs, and we don't even realize they're beliefs. That we don't realize that they can be changed until somebody cracks our head open, and or a situation happens that forces us to look at reality from a different perspective.
Right. And so, just relating it back to thoughts, right? So, how does a belief get formed? Well, gets conditioned in us very early, some of our core beliefs, if you want to call it, like part of your identity. But really, on the surface, if you have a passing thought, and you think it often enough, that passing thought becomes a habitual thought. Think a habitual thought often enough, it becomes one of your core, attitudes and what you truly believe to be true. And then you continue to reinforce that thought. And it all started with a thought. So that's all a belief is that beginning and end thought of something that you've just reinforced. But because, like, the way that I like to look at it, and the reason why I call it Fred stories, is because it smacks us out. So instead of beating up on ourselves and feeling bad about, I've got limiting beliefs and I got to work on this, that we can be objective by looking outside of ourselves. Right. And we can look to Fred. Well, what's this Fred story that I got going on? It must be Fred. Right. And it feels good for a second to not blame ourselves for the limiting belief, but to blame Fred.
That's right.
And that's okay. Right. Because in that moment, what you're doing.
Or to even blame fate for throwing you in the jar in the first place. Right.
Right. Well, if you then can use yourself objectively, instead of being in the experience and being affected by it, being kicked around by it, being beat to crap out by the experience itself. And you can now say, all right, Fred, I don't see it right now. I believe that this is it, but Fred I must have a Fred story that's causing me this pain.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you instantly become objective. You become the objective observer, because now you can look outside the situation, outside the circumstance, and evaluate it. And that's what makes us human. That's what distinguishes us. We have the ability to think about thought.
Right. Us and dolphins.
And what?
Us and dolphins.
Yeah, but I don't know how much they're able to think about thought.
I don't know either.
Anyway,
maybe one day.
The point is that we have the ability to take a pause for the cause for the pause, or pause for the cause, right, and just stop for a second. And in that place between that the stimulus of the situation and the Fred story that's causing you that automatic reaction to it.
That's right.
And so, the thing is, though, like in our marketing, this comes up again and again, right? Because oftentimes we have to help people come through and evolve past their limiting beliefs or their Fred stories in order to even hear what we have to say. Because if they have that automatic Fred story filtering them, they don't believe it's possible. In other words, they believe that the lid's still on the jar, and they believe that jumping any higher than the lid once was equals death. Literally. Mm-hmm. It's made up, but that's what it equates to in their mind, right? So if you're trying to come right out with and go counter what they, in this moment in time, believe to be their reality, then you're now you're forcing them to smack into the lid without allowing them to see a new possibility. And it happens so often in our marketing.
It does. It does all the time.
Kyle says dolphins will take over the world.
Right. Right. That's the lesson here, really.
Mind control.
That's the lesson of today's live stream. So think about time and history. And I'm not a big history guy, so I'm not going to quote any dates. I'm not even going to name any names. I'm going to talk in broad, sweeping generalities right now. So when many of the world's greatest achievements have happened, our biggest breakthroughs in the various areas of thought and understanding and knowledge, from mathematical discoveries to the world's greatest poetry or theater being written, the most amazing books of all time, the classics. When we look at music that's been created in every genre of music ever, one thing is true, and at a particular point in time, a group of people got together and worked on it. They all worked on the craft together in some way.
And probably there was a group of people opposing them, saying that's stupid. You can't do that. It won't happen.
If they got enough momentum, certainly, if they, and the ones that became known, in all these areas of human thought and development have happened as a result of a bunch of driven people who are all working on creating something that is new and really going deep on math, on science, on a particular area of science. Right. Think about athletics and what happens when someone breaks a athletic record.
What was it, the 4-minute mile or something? And then immediately, it took like 100 years to break it. And then as soon as that barrier got broken, then everybody started breaking it, right?
Everybody that was a highly trained, ultimate elite, supersonic ass kicker of all time runner to begin with. Yes.
But it showed that it was possible.
It showed that it was possible. Exactly. And so if you want to know how to change your beliefs, how to start being able to see whether or not the lid is actually there anymore, one of the best ways that you can do that is very simple. Spend more time with people who have achieved or are achieving the things you want to achieve. What you'll find is that their beliefs will rub off on you. That's it. Now, that might mean you need to read books by these types of people, and it might mean you need to listen to podcasts. Maybe you're in the middle of a farm in Idaho, 100 miles from anything. Okay, that's legit. You still got podcasts. So
live streams like this.
Live streams. There's so many workshops and trainings. As a matter of fact, that brings up a very important thing. What a wonderful segue. We are doing
I can't imagine how you got to that.
Completely unplanned. We're doing a training in a couple of days on how to break free from the time for money trap. And by the way, Kyle Battis, if you're still here, I want to know, do you want to come on video and tell us how Income for Life and NPOD changed your life? Because if you're prepared to do that, I think that would be a perfect time. If so, you know what? As a matter of fact, I don't know. You might have already jumped ship here. But if you are around, I'm going to give you a link on Messenger to join us, Kyle. So we're doing a training, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday, and it's called How to Break Free from the Time for Money Trap. We're going to be talking about a lot of these ideas a little bit more in depth in terms of how to really, practically speaking, break free. But if you want to spend more time with people who are thinking about this and who are thinking about what's beyond the time for money trap, then I encourage you to join us for this live event. We're going to be hanging out for somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes, and we're going to be sharing with you our greatest insights and understanding about how to help you to break free from the time for money trap as a employee, if you have a part or a full-time job, as a entrepreneur, if you've built a business for yourself that's just another job, or as a business owner, in which case you definitely have built a business for you that's just another job, unless you're super ninja, then we're going to teach you some ways of spotting the time for money traps so you can know when you're in it and how to pop out. So the link, I can just go ahead and, oh crap, I lost the link because I copied this other link to give to Kyle. Dadnabbit. Hold on. Oh, you know what? It's in the
description.
The description. If you could maybe grab it.
It's just it's the okay. Let me just type it in.
Yeah, that would be totally awesome. Sorry, I don't know if it's my computer or the new Facebook interface or what, but like I'm having weird problems today.
And while you do that, here's a little test about, like, do I have a limiting belief, or do I have a Fred story that's preventing me from living the kind of success that I want? Well, unless you are attempting to achieve something that truly has never been done before, and you're like a true rocket scientist and looking to break through there, if you're not yet living the goals and other people are, then you can be sure that you've got some sort of a Fred story that's making you unconsciously limiting yourself as a result. Just the way it is. And that's how you tell. And, the more that you do to acknowledge it, and the more that you look at it, like the things that we were doing yesterday with Jean, by the way, where we pointed out to her that, that mental conversation and those limiting beliefs, the way that she verbalized it is a form of a Fred story. It's just a habitual way of being and a way of thought that got expressed via her language.
Cool. Hey guys, sorry, we accidentally gave you the wrong link a minute ago. It's etgworkshops.com/blah, blah, 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 blah. I think Joshua and I had a little miscommunication about the link there. So,
it doesn't automatically default?
No, I think the way you wanted me to set it up and the way I set it up were slightly different.
Oh,
so we can do a little technical difficulties later. But in the meantime, dolphins are still taking over the world, and I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a link in the. There it is. That's the link. And I also put it in the comments, and it's going to be super good. And I got the feeling that Kyle's not here anymore. That's my feeling.
Well, given the fact that he hasn't responded, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, he just responded to me in Messenger and said he can't do it right now. That's cool.
No problem. Thanks for tuning in, though, man.
I didn't want to talk to you.
It was nice to interact with you for a bit.
No, Kyle, I can tell you that, so guys, if you don't know Kyle Battis, aka Kyle Badass,
I was going to say that.
I grew up with Kyle. We went to each other's birthday parties in elementary school. Grew up with Kyle, and he worked with me in Overcome Everything for many years, for a long time as our highest paid team member. He was just making it rain all the time as our affiliate manager, and was just setting up giant deals left and right. And he was just so good at it. And Kyle's life totally changed when he encountered your Income for Life stuff and NPOD stuff. Like, Kyle's one of the people that I turned on to NPOD because he was like, dude, how are you making all this money? Like, what the hell? And I was like, I went through NPOD, and I probably gave him a copy of it, is my guess. Maybe he bought it. I'm not sure, but he went through Income for Life. I remember he read Income for Life, and it's just like, he just talked about it all the time for years and years and years. And so really, really looking forward to sharing more of the Income for Life principles with people in the not too distant future. That's right.
Somebody over in the Art of Email Marketing is singing Kyle's praises.
Yeah.
Marilyn Zink.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Kyle's done all sorts of stuff back in I mean, he was a personal trainer and fitness trainer. As a matter of fact, my first product that I ever put online and couldn't sell to save my life was called The 5 Keys to Permanent Fat Loss. And Kyle and I created it together. We recorded it on a mini disc recorder in my dad's spare bedroom. And it was a hypnosis and personal training, fitness and nutrition combo, double CD. And I wrote my first sales letter and put it up on Sean Casey's old sales page software. I think it was called Gold Bar or something, but I think that was Mark Goldman's thing. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah,
anyway.
but I think Sean was partners with him on that at some point, or they did something together.
Yeah. At any rate, I couldn't sell that stuff to save my life because I sucked at writing copy so bad, and all the other internet marketing stuff. I just didn't know. I didn't know, So that's and Kyle now has a very successful marketing agency where they do lots of local marketing. Him and Mike Purvis have a very successful local marketing agency in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So they're rocking it. Awesome. So why do you think, interesting. Why do you think that Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea resonates with people so much?
Well, it's a way that, first of all, it's fresh, it's different. They haven't seen anything like that before, and it gets them to evaluate the first edition of Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea. I used to produce well over 5 million leads for network marketing. And it was very much a straight up, me telling the story as the narrator. It wasn't until many years later that I shifted and made it from Fred's perspective, and that both worked. But when I first invented this, it was I'll never forget the day. I was sitting in the coffee shop where I used to build all of my success in 1998, I think. Maybe it was 99. And I was reading, as I was prone to do, I was reading some good marketing stuff to prime the pump. And I had to come up with a campaign for a network marketing client. And I was reading Joe Sugarman's Advertising Secrets of the Written Word. And in that book, he tells the story of this elephant and how the elephant gets chained and with a little, and so I was thinking, well, I could create Ellie the elephant instead of Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea. But then I remembered the Fred story. And so that's where it was born from. And in the beginning, all I did was just tell the story from my perspective. And I basically was just straight up like, what does this, crazy story of Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea have to do with you getting rich? And it was just straight up like hardcore business opportunity type stuff. And what it did was two things. One, it got people to consider that they did have some things, and it entered their consciousness in a way that nothing else was at the time, and still nothing else does, because it completely, not just a pattern interrupt, but it's a way of engaging with people so that they can see things from Fred's perspective. And then when I shifted it into making it about, when it's time to shift and time to get people to think about it, I say, well, wait a minute. We're not Fred. I'm not Fred. You're not Fred, right? Or are we? And then I tell my story of being a flathead flea, of being flathead Fred, and tell some of my experiences doing that. And by the end of this, not only have they put themselves in Fred's shoes, they put themselves in my shoes. Now they're starting to see it from their own perspective. They're opened up and willing to hear different things, and that they couldn't hear before. And the other thing that it did, as far as it's connected to everything that I just said, but like when the people working those network marketing leads, when they called people up, they were used to like, oh, I didn't request any information. I didn't do any, and they immediately tuned them out and they go, are you sure? Because it was all about Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea. Don't you remember Fred? And they go, oh yeah.
Of course.
And immediately, boom, they were right back in it. And now they engage in the conversation. So not only did it produce like well, let me give you an example. Back then in 1998 into 99, a typical campaign we could do was maybe about 5 to 10,000 leads per week in this process. And I completely re-engineered it. As a matter of fact, I had a multi-page site in addition to, because I modeled it after my first winning site in the online world. And so it was multi-pages. It had tips. It had all of those things that went along with it. And long story short, although the people that I was working with and partnered with said, this will never work, it's too long, it's too crazy, it's got to fit this certain profile, we tested it anyway. I said, well, do me a favor, placate me and just run it. And they did, and they said, holy shit, that all of a sudden they calculated it out and they could do 35,000 leads per week on the same thing. Not only that, the volume of responsiveness went up, but the conversion of the leads, the quality of the leads went up as well because of Fred, because of the entry point. Where'd you go, dude?
I'm back. I told you I drank a lot of coffee. Well, sometimes you gotta pay the piper.
Well, all right then.
So here's the thing.
Hey, how about going split screen again so that I can actually see
there's
you?
a good idea. That's a good idea. Wait, no. There it is.
There it is. Sweet.
So, first of all, take a look at this Frozen Elsa Ice Princess.
Nice.
Band-Aid. You know what I did? I stuck my finger in a blender. First of all, don't do that. Just generally speaking, that's a bad idea. The blender was not on, and it was not on its base. I was trying to clean it out because I had some smoothie caked inside there. The freaking blade on those things is so sharp, and it popped me right next to my fingernail. And so it just bleeds really easily. And so I have Elsa here to help take care of it. It's nice. So with Fred, one of the things I like about the story so much is that Fred made his first appearance before you were really dealing with email. And so that is astonishing to me. So people were coming to a website and they were reading all about Fred in written form and opting in by putting in their phone number, their name, their phone number, and anything else.
I don't know whether we asked for address as well, but probably just name and phone number.
Oh, this is interesting.
Oh, email address, of course.
So I'm thinking about when normal lead generation happens. What is Kyle trying to say? What the heck? Okay. He said, good seeing you dudes. Okay. I thought he was trying to rejoin. So, what's really interesting to me is who doesn't, all right. Well, with our fictional marketing, our mascot marketing, one of the best things you can do really when it comes down to it is write a love letter. Okay. A really heartfelt love letter from a fictional character. It just wins people over. You don't want to be creepy or sexual or anything like that, but just
but genuinely care.
And it could be a love letter from a father to a child, or a mother to a child, or to a sister or a brother. Or it's not even necessarily
somebody
a love
that cares about somebody else truly and is looking out for their well-being.
And it's kind of like one of our most effective types of emails, and it always creates a massive bond, gets tons of fan mail, people love it, and it makes tons of money. It's just a win, right? It's one of our...
and nobody objects to getting it. They're not like, why are you spamming me? Why are you doing all this crap?
Right. And in a similar way, nobody objects to receiving a really cool mystery gift in the mail. Now, unless it looks sketchy, right? Assuming it looks like...
Yeah, white powder.
And so I'm kind of thinking about what would happen I'm excited about this idea of the phone number opt-in, and I've studied a lot of stuff around alternate reality games, and it's this whole big thing.
World building and stuff.
What's that?
Like world building and stuff? Like,
kind of, but it's a whole different thing. I don't think we've actually talked about it. But my point is, can you imagine like going to Kermit the Frog's website and giving Kermit the Frog your email or your phone number, and then getting texts or email or texts or voicemails from Kermit? Like, that would be hilarious. Now, what if Kermit told you, what if Kermit told you he wanted to send you a gift from the pond? Like, would you give him your mailing address, and would you be looking forward to the green envelope that shows up in the mail? Oh yeah, you would.
Especially if he sent you a couple of anticipation building emails in between.
Right. And so what I'm just thinking about the difference between give me your name and email so I can send you this special report about how to stop farting or whatever, versus the direct mail letter that you're going to get being an eagerly awaited piece of mail that you're checking your mailbox every day to see if you got it yet. Right?
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that it's not just novel. It's not just something different. It's different with a purpose, right? So, like, I think it relates back. I know I've used this example probably 100 times in the last few months that we've been doing these, but it's like those people that run the classified ads with sex, big bold. Now that I've got your attention, let me tell you about this life insurance policy that I have for you. And that doesn't work. Yes, it gets the wrong kind of attention.
Right.
And so, but this done properly is different. Definitely stands out completely different. And oh, by the way, anybody that tries to copy it, they are automatically identified with me, right? So because nobody saw it before me, right? So anybody can rip it off and dilute it, but they're gonna miss the nuance of it. And frankly, in the marketplace, what's going to happen is that it's going to relate back to the branding that I've already created for it.
Very interesting. Well, whether you're talking about Fred, I was going to tell you, I really like Flathead Fred. Like that.
It's got good rhythm.
It rhymes. It's 3 short words, like Flathead Fred, you could build out as a character on social media. You could build a chat bot for it. People could opt in to get emails from Flathead Fred, and they'd love that shit. It would be great. And it'd be like the slightly older, more mature version of Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea, right? Same guy, right? Just a little.
He's really dented. He somehow got fed some food and water, but he's still in captivity.
What I really like, as I watched that video that you aired earlier and I had forgotten about, was Fate. And so Fate is a character that we've used many times, but Fate is someone that everyone has a relationship with already. And that could be the secondary character in the story. It already is. But like, you could start getting emails from Fred, but you could then start getting emails from Fate, right? And Fate is steering you in some other directions, and you're going to have to choose how to deal with that, right? It's just some good stuff.
I use it in this edition. I use it to open people up so that they can hear the quote from Carl Jung that once we make the unconscious conscious, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to direct your life, control your life, and you will call it fate.
That's right.
Because you're unaware that it's going on. So, but if I just led with that, then people are going to be resistant to it.
Exactly.
So I had to bring them around so that they'd be open to it and be willing to hear it.
So with that in mind, if you like what we've been talking about here today at all, if you dig this kind of line of thinking, you want to break free yourself, and or you really like the idea of doing some of the super cool high-level advanced email marketing stuff, join us for the amazing live interactive training we're going to be doing this Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. breaking through, escaping from the time for money trap. This is one of those invisible glass ceilings, ladies and gentlemen, that we are all stuck under.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like to learn to recognize that it's running, and so that you can. And we're going to give you some practical tips on how to. It's not just about what it is and how to recognize if you're stuck there, because I can pretty much guarantee you, on some level, we all are, unless we're, if we're not in a grind of some nature, and then okay, great. But if you have something that you're grinding on, or that's grinding on you on some level, then on some level you are stuck in this particular plateau. And it's really about learning how to stop trading your life away for an income.
Right.
And that's the big aha moment that I think a lot of people have to have, so that they can profitably, successfully shift from the offline environment of however they're generating an income previously into being able to leverage in the online world. Is that has to shift first.
That's right.
And that's just a Fred story. And we can help you with that.
On Thursday night, join us. You can go to etgworkshops.com/time-for-money-trap. That's right. I should really dust off my old auctioneer tapes. At one point, I was playing around with this. I didn't stick with it but I was playing around with this idea of doing teleseminars. And on the teleseminar, putting the product or products that I was selling up on eBay. And
right.
the auction go live at a certain time in the middle of the teleseminar. So if maybe at the beginning of the teleseminar. And so the auction would go live at 7 p.m. The teleseminar would start at 7 p.m. and bids would begin, right? And so I went online and I couldn't find any CDs. And this is before, this is several years ago, but I couldn't find any CDs of any auctioneer training. And when I say auctioneer training, I mean like Western cowboy style auctioneer training, when you're auctioning off like tractors and stuff, right? And I bought this tape set because it was the only thing I could get my hands on. It was this old tape set of how to do chanting, is what they call it, when you're like,
oh yeah, yeah, it's got quite a cadence.
I got two. Can I get five over there on the left? And so on. And I think I might listen to those again, and we should do some old West style cowboy auction live streams. That's right.
I don't know that I can do it, but I certainly will be enjoyed by listening to you do it.
Hilarious. What should we auction off? We could auction off an old copy of NPod. That'd be funny.
There you go.
A signed vintage, maybe even an unopened copy. Is there one?
I found I think it's in storage. I think I found a couple of still cellophane ones that I kept for myself. When I sold you the remaining inventory, the 200 plus whatever, I kept a case for myself, and I found them when I was going through the inventory with storage one day.
That would be a really funny promotion to do. Huh. Interesting. All right, guys. Join us this Thursday. It's going to be awesome. The link's in the description, the link's in the comments, and the link is under my beard. All right, rock and roll. Thanks for sharing all the Fred the Flat-Headed-Flea knowledge bombs today, and I'm looking forward to talking more about it in the not too distant future. Over and out, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Toodaloo.